Salutations to the entire Night Chit Chat channel audience. We're going to enjoy an extremely fascinating story today. I hope you find some time to unwind after reading the story. Remember to subscribe, like, and comment to help the Night Chit Chat channel. Let's now examine this story's primary theme. Born and raised in Yen Bin's countryside, Duong adapted to the modest lifestyle of a new mother. This year, at the age of 19, he achieved a significant life milestone by excelling in college. However, that joy was short-lived as his father, Mr. Lam, requested that Duong move to Hanoi with him and his new wife, Noyet, so that he could study more easily and have more opportunities to spend time with his son. Lam, a 45-year-old man, is a shining example of achievement. He established a powerful business in Hanoi using only his hands. His new wife, Noyet, 30, was formerly a secretary for the company before becoming his companion after his first marriage failed or shortly after Lam's uncomfortable divorce of Duong's mother. Despite his kindness, Duong feels unsatisfied. He is not entirely satisfied with his choice to relocate to Hanoi, and he feels cut off from Noyet, whom he believes is the cause of his family's dissolution. However, he continued to maintain his distance and avoided making his attitude obvious. In order to maintain his distance, he initially spent nearly the entire day outside in Hanoi, only returning home when absolutely required. Additionally, Noyet did not voice his displeasure with Duong's demeanor. She is a sensitive woman who is aware of her son's psychology. Instead of attempting to win his heart, she decides to keep quiet and let things unfold organically. Standing between two people, Lam can only hope for the future, hoping that each day will make it easier for Duong to come to terms with Noyet's presence in this new life. Lam left today for a few days of business travel. Due to his hectic schedule of constantly meeting with his partners, his business trip was practically a meal. Duong informed Noyet that day that he was not interested in eating. He visited the home of his friend. Noyet joined his sisters for dinner as well. Duong opened the door when he got home. Noyet noticed that Duong had already left for his room at night. Noyet didn't care either, but as he abruptly walked by Duong's room, he heard a familiar yet unfathomable sound. Noyet stopped short of going to his room. He proceeded to Duong's chamber. The door wasn't shut all the way, it was a little open. Through the window, Noyet could see a girl and Duong lying on top of each other on the bed. Duong was lying on a piece of cloth. God, oh God. That girl's attire. The story ended when Duong woke up, which was about 2 minutes later. Two people were lying on the bed when Duong turned to one side. Noyet heard a strange sound coming from the other side just as he was ready to leave. Young men are different, it's true. Why did it appear so quickly when it's still new? Noyet questioned. Typically, one encounter is nearly sufficient with Mr. Lam, and now that this one is finished, Duong can go on. Duong was lying like a worm inside. Just lying there was the other girl. The story ended about 20 minutes later. Noyet left after observing that the two of them appeared powerless to take any action. Noyet went back into the room and noticed that he appeared somewhat damp underneath. Before getting ready for bed, Noyet rushed into the bathroom to change his clothes. But Noyet's thoughts were still clouded by the scene when he went to sleep. In contrast to Mr. Lam's experience, Duong lacks any unique abilities. He must play enough each time he performs. But Noyet felt motionless and would never forget it after witnessing Duong's youth and vitality. I was confused for about 20 minutes, but I wasn't exhausted or anything. Just finished and went on. Noyet included the sensation of enjoying oneself while lying on the ground. The feeling in Noyet changed in some way. Prior to that, Noyet also fit the university's aesthetic, which attractive men appealed to Noyet. Additionally, Noyet had a talent for making those guys fall in love. But it was only love for the students. Noyet was extremely weak when he later met Mr. Lam. He fell in love because he was a successful man with maturity. Noyet eventually fell in love with him and wed him. He believed that Noyet would lead a tranquil life. However, Noyet's desire to conquer was suddenly stronger today. After some time of mental confusion, Noyet fell asleep. It was absolutely awful. Mr. Lam instructed Noyet to give Duong some cash via text message the following day. Usually, Noyet would send Duong the money directly. But he was thinking of something today. Noyet went home after taking out some cash. Noyet went to knock on the door of Duong's room that evening. Noyet was there when Duong opened the door. He was somewhat taken aback. "Come in and talk to me for a while," Noyet said. Duong simply opened the door and let Noyet in without saying anything. Noyet came into the room, sat on the bed, and said, "Come in and talk to me for a while, Duong, Noyet. I haven't had an opportunity to speak with you since you returned home." Duong remained silent and simply nodded. "I am aware that you don't feel good about me. I recognize that. But now we are a family, I'm hoping you'll let me into your heart. I don't ask you to do it immediately, of course. Let's give each other an opportunity to learn more about one another." Duong remained quiet. When Noyet noticed that Duong was silent, he refrained from speaking further. Duong received a piece of paper from Noyet along with 500,000 VND, "Give me the winnings, Dad. I'll give you the money I have today." Duong touched the cash register with his hand. However, Noyet dropped the money on the floor before he could do it. Noyet went to retrieve it downstairs. He struck Duong's eye with a sliver of shirt just as Duong was about to go downstairs to retrieve it. Oh my God, when Noyet went downstairs to retrieve the old shirt, he was wearing a shirt that wasn't that wide. Who is unaware of the dark, white, and deep one? It's only a tiny bit. However, Duong's age was sufficient to make him angry. Duong ran back. To keep Noyet from noticing anything out of the ordinary, he somewhat tied his legs. Noyet picked up the cash and then got up to hand it to Duong. Duong was somewhat perplexed. To keep Noyet from seeing his condition, he tied his legs. "Thank you." He handed over the cash and looked up. The shirt was wrinkled, as Noyet noticed. "Why is the shirt wrinkled?" Lean asked. "Simply wash it if it's a brand new shirt." Noyet then went upstairs to retrieve Duong's shirt. He struck Duong's eye at that precise moment. God, oh God! At home, who would don a shirt like that? Duong felt uneasy because everything was in front of his face. Duong quickly looked away to get away from his melancholy thoughts. "Let me wash it for you," Noyet said after removing Duong's shirt. Noyet slid swiftly into the pocket of Duong's pants. He turned away. Grinning, Duong cast a sidelong glance at Noyet. Because the lantern's light was in front of his face and he was intoxicated, his eyes did not avoid it. Duong did not give Noyet much attention for a long time because he felt uneasy. However, Duong saw that Noyet was also in a fairly good shape today, with a lovely face and a tall build, making him a target for attack and a target for defense. Duong quickly undressed and hurried straight to the toilet, doing so repeatedly as soon as he shut the door. Just a few seconds after Noyet's mental image, a large contingent of soldiers hurried down the tunnel. That evening, Duong had another dream in which he saw Noyet hiding. It was Saturday morning the following day. Duong awoke somewhat late. Duong noticed Noyet prepared to eat downstairs as soon as he sat down to eat breakfast. "Son, get up. Eat breakfast." Duong went to the dining table without saying anything. Noyet advised Duong to go to the grocery store and buy something after eating. "It's difficult to go because I have some things to buy at home while the road is being fixed." Duong felt terrified. Duong nodded as well before carrying on with his breakfast. Noyet got dressed and prepared to leave after breakfast. Noyet was dressed in different clothing. A white t-shirt was on him. Although the t-shirt was tight on the body, it was not open. Duong became agitated. Fortunately, Duong had been ready beforehand. He was terrified of dying because the coat was thicker than it had been the day before. Noyet continued to ask questions on the way. Duong responded as well. Despite his extreme self-centeredness, Noyet did not keep quiet. A section of the road was being repaired near the supermarket. Duong had to walk carefully to avoid the areas where the road was being repaired because of the rain and a puddle of water. Noyet kept bumping into Duong in the front as the car continued to shake up and down. Naturally, though, that was the first location to be struck. Then Noyet placed both hands on Duong's waist and uttered the words, "Be smart, be careful. Oh, I'm so afraid, avoid paying the price." On occasion, while sitting on the road, Duong felt warm and comforted once more before focusing on driving. Duong simply felt that he couldn't try to concentrate in order to get through that section of the road. "Don't go that way," Noyet told Duong at the supermarket. "Fortunately, you are present. You would have fallen there otherwise. I'm grateful, young one." Noyet then grinned at Duong. When Noyet smiled, Duong was a little perplexed. "It's nothing," you said, pointing to him. Then he looked at the grocery store. Duong pushed the cart for Noyet from behind. "I was just following along and observing the three men who were walking ahead." Duong simply closed his legs and left. Duong turned around. A few young men would occasionally pass in front of Noyet. Noyet didn't mind because he was accustomed to those eyes. Duong felt a little uneasy. Duong wanted to scream at those young men as he looked at him, but he refrained from speaking. Noyet picked up some men he saw at home as he passed the clothing store and entered the changing area. Outside, still dressed, Duong stood in front of Noyet's changing room and observed her. Duong noticed some suspicious-looking young men who had changed their attire. After opening the door, Noyet described the clothes to Duong. Noyet said, then pivoted. Noyet purposefully made the clothing tight by taking it down a size. The pants were printed on the bottom when Duong turned around. "It's okay," Duong said. "Yes, so tell me why you took the entire set." At home, the clothes were also old. After shutting the door, Noyet changed once more. There was a small opening in the bottom changing room that allowed onlookers to see whether or not anyone was inside. Duong thought there must be something slick inside because he could see all of Noyet's clothing moving on the floor outside through the door's opening. Sometimes people get lightheaded just from imagining. Duong was slower on the road earlier on the way home. Noyet continued to hold on to his waist and occasionally glanced ahead. Noyet remarked, Noyet was also very smart, as he touched her ear. On occasion, he simply rested his arm on Noyet's back. In order to allow a group of soldiers to descend to the entrance, Duong flew to the room on the way home and hurried to the restroom. Noyet then called out to Duong, saying, "Come down here and help me a little," just as he was ready to turn on the machine to play. He said to Duong, "How can you help me with tidying up?" after stepping down and observing Noyet cleaning. Duong whispered to Noyet as well. At home, Noyet changed his clothes and only slightly opened the door to display his amazing talents. Duong simply did, but occasionally he still looked at Noyet. After a long absence, Duong now understands the depth of his father's love for Noyet. Sadly, Duong assisted Noyet in the kitchen once more. It was impossible for Duong to look away from Noyet. He was in the restroom just now, but where has he gone? He occasionally averted his gaze, but he always returned. Duong spent the entire day assisting Noyet with cooking and housework that day. He was very independent, nothing bothered him. Noyet returned home that day. Duong and Noyet were seated at the table conversing when Noyet came down to cook. When Duong noticed that Noyet was dressed in the clothes he had just purchased today, he decided to go to the room. Noyet was turning his back at this point, and Duong was staring at him. Everything proceeded directly to Duong's room after Noyet pulled Noyet down. Duong sat down to pretend to make a call at this point, but his gaze was fixed on Noyet. Duong was wondering why he wasn't seeing any of Noyet's at the moment. It was obvious that Noyet wasn't at the supermarket, so could it be that Noyet had let him go? Noyet was still perplexed in the morning and unsure of its veracity. Now that he was looking at this scene, however, he knew it was true. It tasted good. After supper, Duong sat down to talk with Lam for a while Noyet was doing the dishes. He then proceeded to Noyet's chamber. Lam informed Noyet that Duong appeared to have changed when he arrived at the room and sat down to speak. "Yes, I did speak with you the other day as well, brother. You'll change gradually." "Indeed. I'm grateful, dear wife. It still feels a little strange. I'll figure out a way to make you laugh even harder." "Yes, I am aware of that. That's what Noyet believed you said. I'm not to blame for that. Then he grinned deep inside. Duong went down to get water after running out around 9 o'clock. Duong heard a noise as he entered Lam's room. The door was open, looking directly into Duong's eyes. Duong noticed that Noyet was sleeping in the forest and Lam was having a good time sitting there. Duong primarily noticed a few things at this time that Noyet did not perceive well. However, it seemed very comfortable to look at Lam's face. Lam once remarked, "My father is also aware of the other thing." It is understandable why Duong could not dare to push the door open. Lam once dragged Noyet out of a different corner and began discussing something. Duong nearly missed everything, but the other woman's voice was inaudible. Lam was quiet for a while. Duong should go down to get water, use the restroom, and stop by himself since he knew it was over. After that day, Duong and Noyet were less tense. They spoke a few times, and he was less critical of her tardiness. On occasion, he also assisted Noyet with housework. Naturally, Duong's eyes just sank like mud whenever he was near him. This was particularly true when Noyet was wearing her new clothes at home, as Duong kept checking to see if there were underwear inside. But because the fabric was so thick, Duong was also afraid to see if Noyet was present, possibly as a test, but this didn't matter to Duong either. Noyet's underwear was on the floor when Duong went to the restroom to fix the issue on his way home from school that day. Uninterested, Duong removed it with her hand and put it on to reveal the silky pink underwear. Duong's face was smooth with shock. How she got so wet is beyond me. The door opened as Duong was holding and imagining. Noyet took over. Duong gave herself a shake. Duong quickly put that panty in her pocket while wearing a high heel. Oh no. Now what? Duong was in a confused mood. I'm at a loss for what to do. Now, how can I explain? Noyet must assume that Duong enjoyed women's underwear and was unaware that Noyet had told her father. Noyet heard a knock on the door and became concerned. When Duong went outside and opened the door, Noyet was there. Could we have a brief conversation? Duong turned to face Noyet after saying that. I understand that you are in a new age and curious about that, so you don't have to worry. Noyet said, taking a seat in front of Duong. I won't hold that against you. Duong breathed like a bubble after hearing Noyet's words. Noyet was scared to criticize her earlier, but now Duong feels more comfortable. But do you frequently do that, may I ask? Once or twice a day, yes. If that's the case, it's excessive. At this age, I understand that you are a little anxious, but doing too much is bad. Doing is good sometimes. Only once or twice a week do I do it. Yes, I am aware of that, but occasionally I feel too uneasy. I have to figure it out. Excessive action is bad. The other day, I had to follow my friend where she was taking me, and Duong was a little upset because she knew how to do it. Yes, we did split up. Yes, I am aware of your attempt, but you should not have done it. I'll figure out how to work out and study a lot. Duong believes that nobody is to blame, but she did it anyway because she was afraid to say it. We both agree now that I only do it twice, and only when you let me. Yes, but what? Duong asks. You'll understand me one day, Noyet says with a laugh. Know what? You'll know then. Noyet then gets up and says, come on, give me your. Duong believes that Noyet is attempting to learn how to do the cooking and washing, but she is unsure of how to do it. She will do it, and she will do it here. I was shocked to find Noyet still sitting there 10 or so minutes after I had left. Duong was there. Noyet grinned. Have you finished? Indeed, I'm finished. Duong felt ashamed. Replied, what should I give? Noyet received a pair of pants from Duong. Turning away, Noyet asked, hey, do you like being a woman's underwear, as he approached the door. Duong remained silent out of embarrassment. Noyet simply turned away with a smile. Duong also made an effort to limit the other thing the following day by listening to Noyet. Duong wasn't scared, rather, it was because Noyet said it was correct. It's not something you should take seriously. I started going to school 3 days later. Duong entered the restroom. After leaving without saying anything, I heard Narrated ask. Are you home? Hurry in, Narrated then grinned and blinked. What's the hurry up? Why don't you hurry out? Into the restroom. As Duong glanced around, he noticed that Narrated's pants were still hanging there. After examining it for some time, Duong was unable to see it this time. He needed to conceal it. But he was more cautious this time. Duong secured the door. Must I not see it? He spoke to Narrated's eyes, and Duong recalled it. Duong got it. I was informed by Narrated of this sign. It's white underwear today once more. Everything continues to flow down the toilet pipe, as simple as that. Narrated spent a week or two hanging his panties inside. Duong did as the sign instructed. Lam went to work this week. He went out recently because he had a big project. He got up and went back to work, perhaps until the evening he returned home. The door to Narrated's room was slightly open when Duong passed it that evening. Reflecting, Duong looked into Duong's eyes as though Narrated were in a supine position. This 3-year-old man is having a completely different experience while half-sitting on the bed. Shut your eyes and picture it. You seem to be visualizing a man beside you. Or what? After standing outside for a while, Duong opened the door without realizing how unlucky he was. Narrated was taken aback. He was about to call when he noticed Duong entering. He quickly grabbed a towel and covered Narrated with it. Duong, however, saw it and expended all of his energy. Then he turned around quickly and simply apologized. Duong entered the room after some time, and then there was a knock. Naturally, it was Narrated who knocked. Duong let Narrated into the room by opening the door. Alternatively, did Narrated lie for a while before saying, "Hey, look what happened just now, I'm a human too. It's okay because I also have a psychological need that my father has been attending constantly. I get it." Narrated himself, however, was at a loss for words. Did you or didn't you do that? Duong inquired once more. Narrated asked me the correct question the other day. Just sometimes. Then Narrated got up and said, "Come on, let's go to the room," or, "Did you lie?" What? Duong asked, shaking his head. Is it possible for me to do that today? No. What is it? Take actions similar to what you just did. Why? Are you unable to see it? Go ahead and do it. However, no. Nothing is present. He wanted to say something that Narrated understood. Earlier, I lost it. I mean, my clothes are also empty. Let me borrow it, please. What a bully he is. I'm at a loss for what to do, however, I enjoy it. Narrated said, "Well, that's okay," after feigning to think for a moment. Duong repeated, "Are you finished? Simply complete it and deliver it to me." "Yes." "What are you waiting for, then? Leave the room." "Stay there," Narrated said, turning around. "Avoid looking around." Duong gave a headshake. Narrated returned to his chamber. After about 15 minutes, Narrated returned to Duong's room. "Hold my hand." "Hold my hand." Duong quickly extended his hand. Narrated handed his panties to Duong. Duong snatched it up and sprinted directly to the restroom. Duong was taken aback by these unique underwear. Then he recalled the films he frequently viewed. Oh, no, everything is filthy. What ought I to do? I'm at a loss for what to do. Ultimately, Duong had to leave. Have you finished? Please give me something. Give it to me to wash. Earlier, I was occupied. Give me something to wash, please. Whoever permitted me to launder Duong's panties? Hurry up. Let me see Duong's face, please. Narrated had a suspicion. Hello. See, by opening it, Duong was perplexed. At last, Duong had to release his hand when he saw Narrated's face. God, oh God, you have no right to do this. Narrated got to his feet and walked away. Duong fled. God, oh God, I'm furious. Duong, however, saw Narrated turn around as he emerged and said, "Come on down here and wash. For what reason are you waiting? Duong rushed after Noyet. He made his way downstairs. Put it in here, Noyet said, turning on the washing machine. Duong quickly inserted it. Hurry up. Come on, let's head home. For what purpose? Noyet stated, it was more convenient than I had anticipated. After breaking his arm and turning his head, Duong went upstairs. Noyet opened the washing machine lid and took out the pants as soon as Duong got up. God, oh God. Why so much? It's a waste. Despite her anger, Noyet returned it to the washing machine. By the end of the week, a few days later, Duong had yet to spot Noyet hanging his pants in the restroom. He's probably upset with himself. Duong let out a regretful sigh. However, Noyet sneaked into Duong's bedroom that evening and simply placed it in Duong's hand without saying anything. For a moment, Duong was a little confused. He felt slightly damp as he picked up the pants. Go in there, please. With haste, Duong entered the restroom. Duong carried it downstairs to the house and loaded it into the washing machine for the next 4 minutes, that's all. Noyet hid his pants for Duong and hung them whenever Mr. Lam wasn't going out. Additionally, Noyet occasionally stopped by to give it to Duong whenever he went out. Naturally, Duong prefers Noyet to give it to him, so all he can hope for is that Mr. Lam stays at work for a while. Mr. Lam arrived at work this week just in time for the weekend. It's Friday today. Duong will continue to study for 2 more afternoons. He rushed home early after that. Duong still wanted to go home and wait, but there was nothing to do. Duong saw Noyet's car at home after arriving home. What made you return home early today? Duong questioned himself. Duong heard Noyet's voice speaking down from above abruptly. Come on, Duong ah. What are you doing? Duong entered the chamber. Upon entering, Noyet noticed that Noyet was lying on the bed. On top of the pillow were his feet. A bump was present. What's the matter with you? How did the car end up? Are you all right? Do you want your father to be called? It's merely an external wound. It's all right. Don't say anything that would worry your dad. Just now, there was no pain, but now I'm unable to go because it's so itchy, thus, simply rest. Today, I'll take care of the water and rice. What can I do for you, then? Duong hurried to the house, bought some food at the market, and then got ready to cook. Noyet was holding the wall when Duong entered the room. One by one, he entered. His face appeared to be in excruciating pain. Where are you heading? I can't go, but I'm going to the bathroom to shower and then come down to eat. How may I help you? After exchanging handshakes, Duong released Noyet. However, it appears that Noyet still hurts a lot with each step. I understand. Just remain motionless and allow me to speak, Duong said. Then Duong got on his knees. He put Noyet in his heart and raised him up. I don't need you, then. Simply remain motionless. How much time will it take you to remain motionless? It is more painful the more you shake. Noyet was afraid to speak up. Noyet was placed in the restroom and put down by Duong. Noyet was then given a seat when Duong pulled back the curtain. After that, he left and shut the door. Noyet then gave me a call. Duong simply said the same thing as he turned around. Duong left. Duong heard Noyet beginning to use the restroom inside. The water was flowing constantly. It had to have been a while. Noyet called after he heard her pouring water. Noyet was led outside by Duong. He handed a wardrobe to Duong. Duong changed into a bathing suit. Duong returned Noyet to the closet. Noyet wore a dress today that was too long for his knees to make contact with his foot wound. After gathering the clothing, Noyet went to the restroom. Duong brought in a chair with care. A mirror that would allow Noyet's clothing to be separated while still fitting. In order to alleviate the pain, Noyet placed a mirror and instructed him to sit down and take a bath. Duong placed the bathroom and bathing suit next to Noyet. Duong shut the door behind him and left. Duong took Noyet outside after she finished her bath and then returned to the restroom. Duong then brought Noyet home for dinner. Duong took Noyet wherever he needed to go from that point until the evening. Duong's tight hold moved and impressed Noyet. Noyet hasn't felt this way in a long time. That's how some people feel about him. Naturally, Duong is holding a stunning woman. Noyet's skin had a scent to it. Duong was envious. Duong made an effort to look at him without turning to face Noyet after he left. He was still unable to prevent the two people's eyes from meeting, though. Then they both quickly departed. Duong wanted to show Noyet his room after dinner and cleaning. "Let me watch TV for a bit," Noyet said. "Staying in bed all day is boring." Duong then led Noyet over to the couch. Sitting there, Noyet switched on the television so she could watch. "Go to your room," Noyet said. "Anytime you need me, give me a call. For fun, let me sit with you." "All right. What are you using to sit here, then?" "You two switch on the television. A movie is playing on the TV. It just so happens that your son and his parents' story is also told in the film. You two continue to be close and eventually start dating. After that, you visit your son's parents." Duong and Noyet during his father's absence. Unable to contain themselves, they gave each other close-knit embraces. As the two of you sat there, Duong pictured himself and Noyet as the film's protagonists that afternoon. When Duong turned to face Noyet, he noticed that he was staring at himself. After a while, you two were unable to continue looking at one another. "Oh, hold on. Calm down, Duong. What do you have on repeat?" Duong was unconcerned. "Duong, ah." Duong was very composed at that time. He hurried out of Noyet. Noyet straightened up and said, "Calm down, Duong. Calm down, Duong." Duong remained silent. He had a blank expression. At that moment, Duong felt a mixture of fear and rage, as though he were a baby pleading with his mother for a present and was forbidden from feeling angry. "Duong, what do you know about our situation?" asked Noyet. "You would lose self-control after watching a film like this one. However, we remain a family." "This is incorrect. You get it?" Duong simply nodded without saying anything. He avoided looking at Noyet and instead turned his face away. After giving Duong some thought, Noyet said, "Duong, please return here." "What were you saying?" "I can only assist you with that, as I mentioned. There is nothing more I could ask for." "Indeed," Duong gave a nod. "Come with me to your room." After hearing what he had to say, Duong retired to his room. On the bed, he lay down. It was Noyet's turn to reflect on what had just transpired. Noyet was extremely hot. He was breathing heavily. He believed that in order to help Noyet heal, he needed a man who was full of energy. Youth, he realized, is different. Noyet began to close his eyes and visualize the final moment. He had energy in his hands. Once more, he opened the door. When Duong intervened, he noticed Noyet getting to his feet. "What happened to you?" When he looked at the bottle in the room, "I noticed that there was no water." Duong brought Noyet another bottle. Indeed, at that moment, Duong's hands were devoid of water. It was accurate. Noyet thought that Duong was going to do something bad, so he laughed at himself. "Yes, thank you Duong," Noyet inhaled. He placed the bottle on the table and appeared perplexed, as though he wanted to say something but refrained. "Do you have anything else to say? Otherwise, return to your room and rest. I have something to say tomorrow, but I'm exhausted." Without hesitation, Duong returned to his room upon hearing that. That night, they both slept well, but in their dreams, their shadows were in front of them. Around 8 in the morning, Duong dozed off. He usually sleeps until noon, but today he woke up quickly, brushed his teeth, and went to knock on the door of Noyet's room after remembering that Noyet was experiencing leg pain. Upon noticing that Noyet had recently had his hair cut, Duong inquired, "Yes, I just woke up. Let me help you brush your teeth, let me help you wash your face." "Yes, let me help you." Duong approached Noyet and escorted him into the bathroom, where neither of them felt ashamed. Once Noyet had completed his personal hygiene, Duong took him home. "What would you like for breakfast?" "For pho, what do you want?" Duong thought this little boy was so hardworking that he could train for 7 days. That day, Duong took care of everything in the house from cooking to cleaning. After washing or watching TV, Duong picked the right movie the day before. Why did you watch this movie again? Duong hurriedly took the car to go by Pho. After Noyet finished eating, he cleaned up, washed the dishes, and then went to clean the house. Noyet was lying on the sofa, holding his phone. It had been a long time for Noyet to have such a leisurely meal. Noyet asked, "It's a good movie, besides I didn't finish watching it yesterday. After watching it was the same as yesterday. Listen, from now on you have to listen to me. Yes. Second, you have to study hard, don't play around. If you don't study well, I'll stop helping you. Yes, I know. Third, you have to stay close to your father, he takes care of you. Yes, I know. Fourth, I'll help you, but just like yesterday you can't do anything when I don't allow you to." Duong nodded. "I'm here to take care of you and your father. Take care of me or make me take care of you." Noyet smiled at Duong, but in his heart he thought, even if I allowed my father to take care of me I wouldn't leave him. Time passed. Duong was still deep in thought. One day your mother called and told you that you had to before every weekend Duong would go home, but since you met Noyet you rarely came home. This time when you came home your mother said she had decided to live with the man who helped you and your mother a lot. Duong knew she had sacrificed for you for years. Now she needed to find happiness for herself. She tried to be happy so you wouldn't worry, but when you came back Duong couldn't hide her. Noyet realized that and talked to you. Duong, your mother knew everything. Your mother has been like this for years now. When find happiness you should be happy for her. You know that you are fine. You know that you know that you are. You know that you are fine. You know that you are fine. Now be knowing that you are fine. Oxuwisi Duong, thanks to the friends Duong ks her in your childhood. The next day Duong was bored, so he went to Chuk Tet Ho Hang, then went around the class meeting with his friends. Even though his mother had just returned, she still had to worry about her husband's side of the family. Duong brought the entire household to the other residence. Duong started to get bored on the third day. Duong chose to travel to Hanoi because he was so bored that day. It was dark when Duong arrived. After picking Duong up, Trin prepared food for him to eat. "Where is your dad now?" "Your father is lying in the room after completing Chuk Tet. He is always lazy because he has only been gone a few days." Duong remained silent. Duong went to the room after eating. Duong glanced into Trin's room as he passed it. Lam was lying in bed when he noticed Trin holding the phone. As soon as Trin saw Duong peeking in, she understood. In addition to Duong, Trin has also begun to get bored lately. Remembering and craving, Trin stepped outside. Trin was dressed up to the head of the pillow at this point. There's a vibrant skirt inside. Trin only has a linen shirt on top. Trin was dragged out the door by Duong. She was unable to return home for a few days that summer. My mother now has a new family as well. She simply strolls around when she gets home. For instance, eat, sleep, and then chat with nearby friends. Duong gets up again when I return home for a week. Lam was concerned when he saw Duong alive. My mother's story made Duong sad, so he shared it with Trin. "Please listen to Duong, Trin. I see him listening to you, but I'm afraid he's still thinking about his mother's story. Give him some advice, please." "Sure, let me handle it." "What's on your mind?" "Simply let it go." Duong was nearing the end of his summer break. The rice was ready to eat when Trin left for work. Duong washed his clothes after taking a bath. The house needs to be cleaned. Feed Trin if there are no mosquitoes. Or have Trin bathe once more. The 3 months flew by. Duong went to his room that evening after eating and tidying up. A knock on the door was heard. Trin intervened, took a seat in bed, and questioned him. "I'll be returning to school. Spend some more time studying. I've been a student at that university for a year. I'm concerned, but it feels like the end of the world." "Okay, let me remind you first. Attend classes during the middle of the year. I'm adjusting to it. After that, it's time to resume studying. Do not be concerned, I'll assist you in many ways. I have this for you before I leave for school." I took it open. The box contains a woman's underwear, brimming with materials and colors. I made use of this. It was a gift from me to you. Duong's university has gone by so fast in just 4 years. I can still clearly recall every position, shape, color, and material from the 4 years I spent in that box. Duong is attending his graduation ceremony today. Duong goes with Trin. Observe Duong as he stands in front of the graduation board. Duong is now an adult. He is now a man and not just a student who is interested in his studies. His career, like his father's, is about to begin. They both return home after the ceremony. Congratulations, Trin says when they arrive home. Now that your studies are complete, you're ready to begin your career. It is now time for an adult to achieve success. The road ahead is undoubtedly challenging, but I have faith that you will conquer it all. Thank you. I'm not sure why, but I never give up on my studies. Unlike the first day I entered this house. I no longer feel jealous of you. I have never loved my stepmother more than I do now, up until the day I went to a high school friend's birthday celebration. You and your friends drank a lot of wine that day because I was too inebriated. It seemed as though I had lost consciousness of what I had done when I arrived home. Your stepmother was seated beside you in the living room, and that was all you could see. Your dad was still at work and hadn't returned home. He led you into his bedroom after realizing you were too inebriated. You gazed at the lovely face of Trin in the bedroom's low light. Your face was covered in the smell of the bath milk. He was too inebriated to remain motionless. Your stepmother's arms were trembling all over you. There were times when you two touched. He fell because of your stepmother's warmth, which was like an electric current. He was unable to contain his curiosity. You gave her a strong hug. You two fell on the bed under the weight of a man who was unable to remain motionless. Your stepmother covered herself with a thin blanket while lying on the bed in that position, half naked. After that, Trin quickly fixed it, but he was late. Your stepmother's lips were tight and soft. He got so excited about it that he lost self-control. He became extremely hot. It's also possible for a long-separated woman to be infatuated without resisting. She also reacted enthusiastically to Duong's acts of violence. In the ecstasy, they relished the joy. When Duong woke up the following morning, it appeared that he had forgotten everything. When he noticed Noyet lying beside him with just a piece of blanket, he became alarmed. Duong was in the same situation. Feeling guilty and embarrassed about being taken by his stepfather, he felt as though Duong's hands were everywhere when he was searching for clothes to wear. Duong noticed that Noyet was grinning and glaring at him disdainfully. His hands moved through his body's lines. He felt as though he was waking up at that point because Duong was unable to control himself. With a manly instinct, he abruptly revealed his stepmother's pink skin. Duong had the ability to elevate his stepmother to the height of bliss. On the wall, Duong's stepmother and his shadow kept showing up. It resembled a timepiece. It was a secret that morning until Duong's stepmother closed her eyes and gave birth. Both Duong's husband and his stepmother agreed because Duong understood his job. For the first time in his life, Duong was able to pilot an aircraft. Each of the 20-year-old boy's cells was filled with joy. Duong was aware that the joy of an always logical love had blinded him. Duong wanted to love, to be loved and pursued, to be captivated by that passion and that prize, even though he knew that love could never last and have a better ending. They admitted to being ashamed when they touched each other's faces in the house following the accident that day. The morality and rationale of a son in the family were always explained by Duong. Duong felt foolish and guilty. Duong thought about his father a lot at night. Then, however, he had countless reasons to blame himself. When Duong's father wanted to inquire about the pillow fight following their arguments, Noyet would always say that he was exhausted. It was constantly criticized for a variety of reasons. Until a fight broke out one day between Duong's stepmother and his father. Duong was unaware of the reason behind his father's slap of his stepmother. Noyet's eyes were watering as he hurried out of the house. Duong hurried back to ask his father, but he remained silent. "I'll go find something at home to wait for you," he said quickly. Duong's dad concurred as well. The only thing was that he loved this woman deeply, even though he was unable to reveal his face. Noyet didn't answer when Duong called his stepmother. Noyet heard the phone and said she was on the lake just as he was about to give up. She only had a sleeveless shirt when she went out and didn't have time to carry her belongings. So she asked Duong to buy her a dress. All she had was a phone. Duong had to find a place for his stepmother to change after hurriedly purchasing Noyet's size S dress and heading to the appointment. They chose to go to Noyet's place because it was close to a hotel, and if she didn't want to go home, there was somewhere for her to stay. When the door was shut, Noyet started crying. In actuality, there was no major altercation between Noyet and Duong's father, it was merely a brawl in the heat. Duong went to console Noyet because his father was unable to control himself. It had been a while since they had been this close.